Instead of telling you who we are, we're going to tell you why we're here. That matters more. Here's our why.
My routine when Dave left for his 48-hour firefighting shifts was always to say, I love you, be safe. For many years, Dave would just respond with,
I love you.
back. He finally told me he couldn't promise me his safety, and so he never wanted to lie and say, I'll be safe back. Because emergency responders prioritize the safety of others over their own. Their jobs are inherently unsafe. But most people can't really promise their safety because life is fragile and the world is unpredictable. And what I really meant by saying be safe was a need for Dave to simply come home, return to me, our life, our family alive. Don't die, come home. Accepting the injury that the brokenness of the world might cause him, any first responder, and in reality, any human on this earth, doesn't mean that we don't keep going and keep living and keep growing. So we can't ask you for your safety, but we won't stop caring for our communities, and we will ask you all to do your very best to take care of your lives, your bodies, and your brains. Know that death is inevitable, and know that every moment counts.
So don't die out there and don't die up here. We believe that being real offers opportunity for growth and ultimately success. Success in self, in relationships, goals, and in building a community of mental fortitude. That is our what. To model vulnerability so that our communities can be empowered to practice mental fitness to sustain long-lasting relationships with themselves and their people. As the Anchorage, Alaska Fire Department says, I'm not here for me, I am here for we, and we are here for them. So, love you.
Don't die.
For real this time. Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah? Can't say fine.
No.
That's the rule. Can't say fine.
We'll tell them why you can't say fine.
Well, I think a big reason we say we're fine is because we're afraid to really talk about how we actually are. And if you're great, tell me you're great. If you're not doing good, tell me. I want to know. I want to know what's going on. And I mean, if it's your business and you don't want to talk about it, that's totally fine too. But especially people that I hold close to me, like the people I work with and you and the kids, I want to know what's going on. You know, I want to hunt the good stuff with you. And if there's nothing good, I guarantee you we can find something in there that's good, even through the hard things. So it's been hard to kind of find time to do this, huh?
Yeah, we're like a week and a half behind.
Yeah.
Or not behind, but we have to recap a week and a half instead of just a week because we didn't have time. Well, we couldn't make. It was difficult to find time when we were alone in the house because if the kids were here, it would probably be hard to record this because they'd be like sitting on the stairs and like pretending like they weren't listening, but they were, and that would just be distracting.
Absolutely.
So it was just, this is the first time we had without them at home not working to do it.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right. So how was your last week?
And a half.
And a half.
Well, I burned my face. Remember?
Oh my God.
That's also maybe part of the reason why we didn't.
I forgot about that.
Didn't
So
do this.
Sammy put some. I just assumed some sort of acid on her face.
I didn't do it. Okay.
And it was bad.
Let's backtrack.
All right.
So, I don't remember 2011. I think I went to Africa.
Okay. And what'd you do in Africa?
Just some stuff. And it was a great trip, but I was in the mountains and I burned my face pretty bad. It didn't feel like it was that bad. Like, you know, it was really, really, really burned when we got down. And
Down from where?
the mountain.
The mountain. Okay.
The one mountain in Africa.
Okay.
I think it's.
And I think you're talking about Kilimanjaro, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
So anyways, and when I got down after the next couple of years, I started really developing like dark spots. They're called something. I always say it's melanoma, but that's cancer. So it wasn't cancer yet.
Yeah.
But the pigmentation was bad. And I also didn't take care of my skin when I was younger at all. And I loved being in the sun. So it was starting to get really bad. And I feel like a year maybe before my first wedding, I was like, these are pretty ugly. I would like to figure out how to maybe do better. And so I went to a dermatologist, and they basically told me that it was precancerous, and in order to start to remove them or to take better care of it, I had to do this like laser treatment that was like 10 to 15 grand. So I was like, yeah, no, I'll just deal with the ugly spots on my face. And then obviously they progressively started to get worse. And it wasn't until I started working in my office now. It's a shared office floor, and there's a lady, and I'll put her website underneath or all on the stuff, because she's fantastic, and she uses these products that are made here. But she's like, no, don't do that. I can help you. It will do a couple treatments, might take a couple of years, but it'll be significantly less money. And all the products I use, you can use forever. And it's this brand that, I'll put that in the comments too, but it's this brand that is natural, all this stuff. So she's helped me tremendously. Like, my face is like totally different than it used to be. And so the last thing we did was a chemical burn. And we've done one before, but this was like high octane. Like, every time I go see Pam, she's like, we're upping it, you know? And this one was like,
you upped it.
Really, intense. And so I looked like my whole face was pretty much like purple.
Yeah.
And then it becomes purple, and then it peels away, basically. But it's super painful, and not a lot of people do it. But it's essentially taking out all of those layers of the skin to remove the potential for cancer, and just if people do it just to look younger too.
Yeah. For
wrinkles and whatnot. But mine was specifically for my pigmentation. So, anyways, did that last week. It's clearing up now. Mm-hmm. I don't have makeup on, so she did a really good job. Yeah. I mean, I have mascara and stuff, but nothing on my face. Yeah. And I looked like a crazy person. One of the guys at the fire department, was like, he kept walking past my office, and he was like, I can't, Sammy. You look like a monster. Because everybody, when they'd see me, they're like, what happened? They thought I got sunburned really bad. So. Anyways, it was probably not a good idea to be on camera. Yeah. Just distracting for people. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody was distracted by it. So, what else? That. And I moved officially into my office at one of the departments that we work with. They have they were redoing their admin building, and the chief has been a really big proponent of what we do with the crews, and slowly getting me to work there more and more and more. And one of the stipulations this year was that I would have my own office space in the new building, so that people can come see me there, and they don't have to come to my private office. So they can come like off shift. He's even allowing people to go during shift if they can coordinate it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they just second chief told me that last week. So we had some questions about it. So if they can make that happen, and not prioritize it over what they need to get done or whatever.
Absolutely. The call comes first.
Mm-hmm, obviously, but they can come see me during shift too.
That's awesome.
So that was really cool to move in, and it's been fun. Like, all the guys are like, I didn't anticipate it, but they're like, can I see your office? Like, when they're coming through admin and shit, cool. And I'm like, they care about this? This is so weird. So that's been really cool. That was a great thing. Also been pretty burnt out, even though we had that week off. Just kind of came back to a lot of, I don't even want to say bad stuff. It was just many people were struggling with many things all at once, and I'm a lot of people's person for that. Yeah. So I was completely overwhelmed, and I had one day where I started at 7 a.m. You were on shift. So I had to start early because I had to get to the department to see somebody right when they got off. And then I had back-to-back people all day. And then I went up to Clear Creek to do a debrief for a bad kind of situation they had. And I didn't end up getting home until like 9 o'clock. And I walked in the door, and I sat on the floor in the hallway and cried for like 20 minutes. Yeah. Like, it was just one of those days. Like, multiple people called me about cancer, like diagnoses, their spouses. I had a guy who was potentially suicidal for a little bit. The call, and then just a bunch of clients in the morning. I was just very overwhelmed.
Well, and then like, I wanted things from you. I wanted to chat, and I think this was, I mean, I know we weren't going to talk about this, but I think this might be a good time we could talk about, that was definitely a hear it problem when we finally got it to
You
the
didn't
point.
do a bad job,
No,
though.
oh, absolutely not.
No.
I did a fantastic job. Just ask me. So, like, I think, this could be we can take a quick little side quest here and talk about it. Is one of the things, not just in a romantic relationship, but in any relationship you're having with another person, there are hear it problems, there are fix it problems. And sometimes that line is kind of blurred when you're talking to that person, or it's not the precedent hasn't been set in the conversation. So when I was talking to you, I started like immediately thinking in my mind of ways to fix this, right? I was like, okay, we got to get her another phone number so she's not getting texts all day
you
and
did
this.
do that, yeah.
And so I started like down that road, and then I was like, what do you need me to do? You're like, I just need you to hear me and just understand that I'm overwhelmed and I'm overworked and I have a lot going on right now. And it's not that you don't value me and our relationship or our family, but it was like, you're fucking at 120% right now with work stuff.
Yeah.
And so just being able to hold space for you and not go, okay, well, maybe you should do X, Y, and Z, just being like,
Sure.
not saying I understand, because I don't understand, but hey, I hear you, I care, and just listen.
Yeah.
It's difficult, especially for, I would say most partners, but especially most partners that are in a responder role, we're fixers. That's people call us to fix their problems. And when it feels like we can't fix our problems at home, things start to spiral. But it's not that problem needed to be fixed. You just needed space and time.
Yes. I think that I have lots of thoughts, so I'm trying to just pare it down to one. But I think that what particularly is difficult about our dynamic sometimes is that I'm not fixing people's problems, but I'm in the space of people's problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes your fixing solution is protecting me. Well, not sometimes, most of the time. Like, you want me to be okay, which I need. Like, I need an advocate for me, right? You've probably been, I've had lots of people in my life that have cared for me, but like, you are a hard advocate for me. And I need that, because otherwise I'm totally off balance, right? I throw myself into stuff and I don't take care of myself. So I need that from you. But I think in this scenario, we've gotten so much better at like, okay, pivoting. Sammy's doing too much. Here's where we pivot here. Sammy's doing too much. Here's where we pivot there. Dave can help with Sammy on this scenario. Dave's doing too much. Sammy can help, right? We're good at building that, like, not even just resilience, but the pivoting of how to help each other and how to do better and not extend ourselves so thin. But in this situation, because we've done all of that pre-work, now what I'm dealing with is like just necessity, right? So like, your responses to fixing are like 3 years ago. Like, you stop seeing so many people, right? Like, tell people no, do that. And I'm like, I hear you, but we've already built that. Like, this wasn't about, I saw too many people that day. This was, I saw a normal amount of people, plus I had to fit in a crisis debrief. That's a crisis, right? Like, we don't pause those, And then plus 4 other scenarios were happening that weren't crises, but that were really big deals. And I can't be like, sorry about your cancer. I'll call you next week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sorry that you're suicidal right now. Like, I just don't have time for you. So I think it wasn't so, that's where we get in the weeds sometimes is that it's like when everybody has a bad day where we're the person's backstop.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it was like a perfect storm, even though this was a bomb. Perfect storm, right?
Yeah.
And none of those scenarios I could be like, I'll pause this right now.
Yeah.
So I think that was just a moment that, yes, like, there's nothing that we could do in the back end or the front end of it. It was just too many things happened for me. I was intaking everybody's emotions, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this was horrible, and I needed to let it out, right? Like, because it's just fucking living in me.
Yeah. And I think, so I used to definitely, I would try to fix it, and then we would get in conflict, and then I would get upset.
Yeah.
Because
it doesn't feel like I'm prioritizing you. Maybe,
yeah. And like,
right? Yeah.
and so like, I would start tail spinning. I would start twisting this story in my head of what's going on. And so, like, this is time where I have to dig deep and do a little bit of self-talk and stuff like that. Like, no, I'm just here for Sammy. She doesn't need me to do anything other than just be next to her or be on the phone or hear her. And this will pass, right? Like, we've weathered this storm before, and yeah, it sucks, but like, this need to be here and hear you and listen and care, and then, let time go instead of trying to push you through it. Because me being the personality type I am, I'm like, well, let's fix the problem and immediately go back to having fun.
Sure.
And you're like, it'll work, but I need time and space to get there.
Well, and actually, I don't know if you came home the next day or the day after. I still maybe had a day in between.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't remember what happened that day, but I didn't have, not that I didn't have time, but the next day was also busy. Most of my days when you're gone are busy. And then you came home and I sat with you for an hour on your lap and cried.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a moment when you're used to being like, let's go. This is, I'm home. Like, let's go do something. Let's go have a day. Let's go for a workout. Let's whatever. And I wasn't there. Like, I needed to like release all of that stuff inside.
Yeah.
I was just listening to a podcast. I can also put that on there. Gosh, I have to remember all these things.
Sushi, take notes.
Sushi is our other dog. They don't know who Sushi is.
She's been walking around. You guys know Sushi.
I mean, let's be real. Most of the people that listen to this podcast have met Sushi
Bob
before.
And your grandma.
Okay, so and he was talking. He was called "Keep the Promise," so it's about firefighter resiliency.
Yeah.
But he was talking about the guest that was on there was talking about how. What were we just talking about? Sushi derailed me.
Well, we were talking about holding space,
Yeah.
and then I assume you were going to talk about the
No.
the
something
response, the trauma response stuff.
No.
Oh man,
No.
you're really bad at this.
Okay.
It'll
I
come
don't
to you.
know.
You can. We'll circle back, as they say in the biz.
Anyways, Keep the Promise is great. We like it a lot.
Yeah, it's been good.
So.
And I think part of the thing. Go ahead. Did you get it?
Yeah.
It's because you stretched your neck out. You got to
We
stretch it
talked
out.
about that too.
Yeah,
in a
I
weird
told
way.
you.
So he was talking about crying. It was a really good quote, and I don't have my phone next to me, otherwise I would pull it up. But he was basically talking about how crying is a sign of life, and how a lot of us, especially in your guys' world, in the responder world, have become the job, right? Like, you are a firefighter, you are a police officer, you are 911 dispatcher, whatever, and it begins to harden life, right? Because of what you see and what we know all this. But what he said is that you weren't born a firefighter. You weren't born, a 911 dispatcher. Like that is, you are human, and sometimes a job gets in the way of being human. Like, we're humans first, is what he said. So crying is a sign of life again, because a lot of times we suppress crying. Could be how we were raised, could be being our gender and roles in society and the pressures that are placed on us. But we don't do a good job of releasing our emotion when it comes to crying. We tend to suck it back in. And it was just an interesting way of describing how it's so important, because it's a sign that you're a human still, right? You're not a job, or whatever the case is. So anyways.
A good cry every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, got to do it.
So.
Oh, thanks, Siren. Welcome.
Yeah.
I don't know, coughing up a hairball. Oh. Come here, you want to say hi? Come here. Well, that's good.
So, anyways, enough about my week.
Yeah.
I would like to hear about yours.
It's been pretty good. A lot of great things going on. I got to use my hands in a couple different aspects. I got to do some work on our truck. It was, as sometimes as being the shade tree mechanic that I am, as difficult as it is, I do enjoy doing that. It really gives me a lot of respect for the people that work in our fleet department. Like, every time I do something in the bowels of the engine compartment of one of our vehicles, I send those guys an email and I'm like, thank you guys for what you do, because shit's hard.
Yeah.
It's fun. I enjoy it. Thankfully, we have an extra vehicle, so if I need to get around, it's not a huge ordeal and stuff like that. But it was fun. It was so I'm excited for that. I'm excited that, we're good to go, and knock on wood, things will be good for this summer for a couple trips. Yeah. And then I was busy with you, but also I got to go LARPing with my friends at the fire department, and we got to go down and burn with our recruits. We got to go see Matt and all the other RTOs that are putting the recruits through academy, and we got to go do their first burn day with them. And as long and exhausting as those days can be, because especially we go back and we're on shift and run calls, it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things that fills my bucket. I love what we do. We do this because I have the opportunity to do that, right? And that's what got me to this point is being a hands-on, skills-based firefighter. And I'm not great at it, but I'm trying every day to get a little bit better. And I love it. I love, going down there and getting dirty and having fun and getting in your SCBA and moving and doing this and like things that you don't get to do, getting hot. Like it was a lot of fun because, we work in a district where we don't burn that much. We don't. It's not like back east where they're running fires all the time. So it's good to build that, that mental book again and stuff like that and kind of get into it and get in your gear. And not that we're not in our gear at work, but like under actual conditions. And then working with the next generation of firefighters that are going to come up through our fire department. It's a lot of fun. I learn a lot. I don't know how much I bestow upon them, but I learn a lot being down there. I get a lot of knowledge from just like how I interact or words I use with them. We had a great miscommunication between one of the recruits and myself. And so they were kind of doing like a ranch with a basement scenario. And I was the officer of the truck company. And the RTO that was in dispatch explained that we're going to go up the stairs, and that's technically floor 1, and then we will go downstairs into the basement. So we were acting like
it
was
a split level or something.
No, think about so if you were to come into our house, there was no upstairs, and you were just to go down to the basement and do a fire. But there's no basement at our drill ground, so they just said the second floor is the first floor. So there's an exterior staircase to get to that landing, which is the first floor. And he said that over the radio. And if anyone, all the guys that are on my crew know I'm not a radio guy. I almost never have my radio on me. But I was listening and I was paying attention. And I thought we were all squared up because we had ran that scenario, I think, 2 or 3 times before. And I had the group come with me and we split. So I sent my Bravo team to go do exterior truck functions, which is throw ladders, soften the building, look for ladder-based rescues, ladder-based searches, that kind of stuff. And then I was in charge of the Alpha team. So me and one other person, we're going to go inside and go do primary search. So get on the horn, let command know that we're here. And they're like, okay, primary search first floor, which is, if you're looking at the building, is technically the second floor, but we're doing make-believe that the second floor is actually the first floor and they're fighting a basement fire.
So you're supposed to go to the basement.
No, that's what the kid thought. So we were supposed to stay on the first floor.
Well, go ahead. Because you just said it 2 different ways, right? Like how you described it was you were calling the first floor the basement.
Yeah, ground level would be the basement in this scenario.
Right.
And you go upstairs to go to the first floor.
Right. But you just said, so we were saying it was the first floor was technically the basement.
Maybe I did.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Whatever. I get it. It
We'll
just wasn't it wasn't maybe clear. You thought it was clear, and to most 90% of the people thought it was clear. Maybe he's an empath and he's
No, and like it was a great opportunity more for me, right? And I think he got something from it too, but like, so command said, hey, this is a working basement fire. We're going to be stretching a line, through the Alpha side door downstairs to the basement for fire attack.
Okay.
And so
that's clear.
That sounds pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
So him and I go up the stairs to the first floor,
Sure.
which is the second floor. And I'm finishing masking up, and I think I'm talking to the officer on the engine company. And he goes, first floor, like this. And he points like this.
To the basement.
He points this down at the ground.
Okay.
Not like we're going to and I'm like, yeah, first floor search. And he goes, okay, I'm going in. And I'm helping move some hose, and I see him, and he goes right, and then he kind of comes to the left. I move a little bit more hose, move a little bit more hose. I click in and I go in, and there's just people everywhere because it's a Connex box, so they're 8-10 feet wide. They're very narrow, and there's just a bunch of people in there. The engine company's in there. There's two engine companies.
Watching or something?
No, like helping move hose downstairs.
Okay.
I can't tell which one he is. I'm like, okay, he's right there by the stairs. I help move some more hose, and at that time, the smoke had lowered and pushed all the way to the floor. So I grabbed the tick, and I'm like, he must have kept searching. So he must have went down to the end of the Connex box. So I go down to the end of the Connex box, and there's 2 rooms down there. Well, he had went downstairs to the basement because what he said was first floor.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, first floor. We've all had.
You should have been like, yeah, first floor.
I was like, did he have a different radio than I did?
It's like Atomic Habits.
Yeah, a point and speak. So, which remind me, we'll talk about a little point and speak stuff. But
also, Atomic Habits is in Taryn's room, by the way. BTW. We couldn't find it.
That's hers. I bought her own copy.
Then where did ours go?
I don't know.
Okay,
I must have lent it to somebody.
Okay.
If you have my Atomic Habits book, can you send it back to me? There's some
kinda need
good
it.
notes in there.
We do book clubs with LaSalle Fire, and we always come without our book.
Yeah. So right at this time, if this is a real fire, I technically should call a Mayday, and because I have a lost member. I'm not an officer. I've never claimed to be an officer. I don't know what. I kind of have an idea what their job's like. It was actually a really great opportunity. I talked to Josh afterwards after this training of like, that was a good opportunity for me to do the working boss role and see how difficult that role can be.
Yeah.
You know, we had joked, like everyone jokes about everybody else's job. I'm like, oh, you just illuminate and communicate. What else? Like that's what officers do. And a lot of typing. Yeah. But, so I go downstairs, and Matt's like, are you looking for your firefighter? Because he's right here. And I'm like, thank you. And I'm like, Matt was actually in command. I'm like, hey, primary search is done on the first floor. He's like, can you go finish the basement? And so I grab him, and I'm like, let's go finish this. And he goes, we finish up.
Yeah.
And I think that was I always joke with Bob at work, words matter. We'll all, always joke with each other about that. And that was one of those times where like words and definitions matter. Where like I could have said, he's like, we're on first floor. I should have said, yes, we are going to search the first floor. And this is the first, like
I don't even know, but.
I just didn't define the word enough. And I also didn't close the loop with him enough. Like we did close the loop as saying,
yeah, but you trusted that he was going to, right? Yeah.
I trusted him, but I didn't verify that. He understood. And this happens a lot with the kids. I'll be like, hey, I trust you to do X, Y, and Z.
You mean our kids, not
children.
the kids at work.
No, our children.
Yeah.
That, hey, I trust you to do X, Y, and Z. But I need to go back and verify that they actually did it and follow through with it. Because a lot of time, that's not happening. Or what their vision of what I told them to do is completely different than the actual vision of what I thought was going to be. So he was correct as we were going to do primary search. And he thought the first floor was the basement.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. It was just
it was a classic miscommunication. So we came out. I caught up with Matt right after the scenario. I said, I just want to make sure you told the truck company, first floor, primary search. He's like, yeah, absolutely. That's what I wanted you guys to do. We were already beating feet in the basement, so I split my crew off to go do a primary search of the basement, or at least of the fire room. So the recruit and I pulled him to the side, and we had a chat, and I was like, he explained to me that he was saying first floor, and he meant the basement. So like he could have said, we're going downstairs to the first floor.
Sure. Right?
That was what he could have said. When he asked me, when he pointed down, I should have said, yes, we are going to be on this floor, the first floor. It would have taken half a second more of communication, and we could have verified that we were both on the same page. It has never been easier to communicate in our day and age, and yet
to share. You mean like communicate, meaning sharing information?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we are so bad as, I don't know if it's just a Western society or at least people that are that I'm around, maybe it's me, are not great communicators. So that was a really eye-opening opportunity for me. And then you and I were talking about what we wanted to talk about today. And it was kind of the trust but verify with us as your partner or with children in your life. So go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily like with our partners. Like, I don't want to have to like verify you to trust you. Like, I feel like trust between partners should be established.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that gets a little tricky. I think it's when you're building a relationship with a new partner or with new recruits or with new members of your team or whatever, that the trust piece has to be verified.
Yeah.
Right? I think where it's different is with kids. And I didn't know this. Like, this was taught to us. It's not like this is a Sammy concept. Like, our therapist, she was a blended family therapist, and she taught us that one of the reasons why you and I can get into conflict. Well, let me back up. Most of our conflict is about the kids. We rarely have conflict about each other. And if we do, or I shouldn't say we rarely do, but when we do, we can move through it really fast. So we have had the opportunity to build a lot of skills around how to have conflict with each other and how to fight fair and all that stuff. But where we get stuck is about the kids.
Yeah.
And what Mary taught us was that one of the things is I don't have a primal attachment to them. That was the first time I think I've ever heard that word. And it was really eye-opening for me and probably a lot of step families or step parents, I should say, because we are, well, could be a whole millions of episodes on its own, so I'll keep it short, but we are treated with a double standard, even if no one's intentionally doing that, meaning love the kids like a parent, but you can't because you're not a parent, and also don't parent them harder than their parent, but love them harder than their parent. And it's this back and forth dynamic. Yeah. But what it really boils down to is that we can establish love and care for our stepkids, but it will never be primal. So there is an inherent difference between the way that you feel about the kids and I feel about the kids, or any step family is, or any step parent. Doesn't mean yours is better or mine is better or mine's not good enough or yours is I need to be at your level or you need to be at my level. It just means it's different. Mine is a building, choice, continuous relationship. Yours is too, but yours always comes back to the fact that no matter what, they are you walking outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And you will always feel an inherent and unconscious attachment to their care and well-being. Mm-hmm. So if they do something really shitty, that sucks. Moving on, mm-hmm. right? Whereas for me, it's a personal relationship. So when they treat you poorly, each other poorly, other people poorly, our house poorly, whatever the concept is, I have to repair from that. Because it's not, I don't just say, well, I'm teaching you and you will get better and I love you forever. That's not how I feel, because it's a relationship that I'm building and choosing.
Yeah.
So regardless, what Mary taught us was that we're going to come at things differently. I'm always going to feel like I can't trust them, right? That's more, not always, but that's more unconscious for me. Like, that's like a building a relationship. Like, I'm always going to be hesitant, right, of them, or think, the worst potentially. Whereas you're coming at it as, especially because of the dynamic of our family and what's happened to them, you have a lot of guilt around their lives and how they grew up and whatnot. So you are on the other spectrum of they're always doing the right thing no matter what.
Yeah.
Or they will.
Yeah.
If I ask them, they're going to do the right thing. And it's a lot of like hope, right? Like hope as a plan. And that's just because of the primal attachment you have to them. And so what Mary taught us was, it was funny because she was like, David, you're dumb. Just like every parent, you can't trust them.
Yeah.
And what she meant was like, it doesn't mean they're bad kids, right? This is not, the establishment is that kids are meant to learn boundaries, break them, and then build skills.
Yes.
So they're always going to be untrustworthy, potentially, right? Until you really build and they get older and all this stuff. So David, stop fucking trusting them. And Sammy, you have to work up with the process with Dave about how you can, if you're in that space, let him take over, or let him manage it. And so it's not just a you thing, it was a me thing too, obviously. But what she taught you with them is it doesn't mean that you don't love them or care for them, but part of raising a kid they have to learn what trust is.
Yes.
So if you immediately just trust them all the time, you're actually doing them a disservice because they're not learning what trust means, because basically they're just going to fucking lie to you all the time. And then you're going to be like, cool, thanks for doing that. And they didn't. So now they're learning I can get away with whatever the F I want to,
Yeah.
right? So anyways, that's like the concept of, I guess, for not just step families, but even I think a lot of parents, like there's typically the good cop, bad cop in a lot of parent dynamics, especially in our responder world, because a lot of times the spouse is a little bit more lenient or because they're with the kids more, or they're building this different kind of dynamic, and the responder is quick to, not in our scenario, but the responder is quick to the discipline or to whatever. So I think it's, for any family, it's good to learn, like, don't trust your kids, but that doesn't mean you don't love them or that they're bad kids. It means if you're not building a relationship where they can gain trust and understand trust, and you're just giving it away for free, you're not teaching them anything.
No, they're just going to think they can lie and walk all over you and
Correct.
forever. And then they're going to think they can go out in the world and do that.
Correct.
And they're going to have a rude awakening.
And the verify part is what Mary really taught you to do, right? Is like, ask them to do something and then go check.
Yeah.
Right? Give them time
Yeah.
to be trustworthy.
And an opportunity.
Yes, but expect that they won't do it.
Yeah.
And then go check and establish, did you do it? Did you not do it? Why didn't you do it? How can I help you? What is missing here? And then build that process around it. But don't trust them.
Yeah.
Trust and verify, basically. Learn to trust through verifying, I guess, essentially is the... So anyways, that's just, I thought that, like, that was a cool thing that you kind of established today this week with your crew, is like the building of that trust and verifying things and closing the loop with kids, because if we don't do it, they don't learn.
Well, yeah, things get missed, and in our job, people could get injured or not get taken care of.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so...
Lives are on the line, literally.
Yeah, and I think... So, like, sometimes I give some of the other crews I work with, like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, I already did it. Like, but they're just verifying that it's been done, right? Mm-hmm. And I have to set my ego to the side of, they work with a lot of different people, and they have histories and this and that. And so I got to be like, yep, it's done. Here we go. Like, and not let it get in my way. Mm-hmm. I think also one of the things I was just thinking about is, this doesn't mean that our kids are bad.
Right.
It's nothing to do with their character of them being good or bad. It's just, I mean, they're trying to get out of it. They're trying to make it easy for themselves. So, like, I got to verify that they're doing the right thing. And that also, because then they learn to hold themselves to a higher standard of what it looks like to be a good standing member of society.
Yes. And I think something that's important to establish is that it's the repeated lying, right? Or I don't even say lying, like getting out of things or dodging the corner. Is that
No.
Dodging the
bullet? Corners, what you just said? Where's my phone? Oh, it's right there. I got to put that in my list.
Dodging the bullet,
Yeah.
right? Like doing half-ass things, right? Like, because Merrick does this all the time. Like, he half-asses everything. But that's partly his age. But if we don't teach him.
Yes. And there's no consequence.
Do the best you can, right? We're not saying we expect you to be perfect, because we talk about that so much. Like, nothing in this house is about perfection, right? Like, this is just learning how to have values and discipline, not discipline in like getting in trouble discipline, like discipline in yourself, like how to be self-motivated, self-sufficient, all that stuff. If we're allowing them, when they get to a certain age, right, to just half-ass shit, then they're not learning anything. So then if we say, okay, I trust you to do this, and you half-ass it, right, like, then we're essentially giving them a message that is enough.
Yeah. And
they're enough. It's not about that. It's about what the skills and stuff that they're learning to accomplish and do in life, right? And I think it's a bigger world thing, like process is like trusting and verifying has nothing to do with whether the kids are good or bad. They are kids. They're going to break boundaries. They're going to learn that way. But it's our job to say, this isn't the way to do that. Like, you can't keep breaking boundaries.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can't keep lying and dodging the corners.
And dodging corners all
You
over
have
the
to
place.
build, you have to get better at that, right?
Yeah, and Merrick knows that, like, discipline is, he says it. Like, if you ask him, you're like,
Yeah,
discipline's freedom. I'm like, you know that. You've read all the books. Maybe you need to, like, start really doing it.
But that requires us as his guides to not let him get away with it,
Yes.
right? And that's, I think, the piece that, like, Mary and other therapists and whoever in the blended family in any scenario teach you in counseling is, like, you have to be the banks of the river, right? Like, you say that all the time. Like, you have to. And if you're just allowing them to do whatever and lie about it, dodge the corners, like, you're not really teaching them any skills. You know.
Well, and then we were talking in the car today. I know we've taken a lot of side quests today, but, like, we were talking in the car today, like, about money and not really knowing. Like, I didn't get taught a lot about it in school, and I don't remember being taught. And maybe it's because I didn't care. I was fucking lazy, and when my dad or mom would start teaching me about it, I'm like, whatever. But, like, we teach our kids about what it's like to have money and have an account, and you have to have money in savings. And if you want to buy something, you got to make sure you already have money in savings, because, like, you can't just take all your money out of savings and go buy new shoes or whatever and then be completely at zeros. Like, you know, being the banks of the river. And it's hard, especially for me as their bio parent, because, like, you just want to give them everything and make it easy.
You want them to have fun all the time, which is important because they're kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to be like, you're an adult all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's not appropriate for either of them anyway. Like, we want them to have fun. You want them to do stuff. You're really good at the fun part, you know?
But also, and this is something over the last couple years, especially with our relationship, that I've learned is, like, we can have fun, but we're going to do our stuff first.
Yeah.
And we're going to do our stuff right. Like, we're not going to, but I have to do my stuff right too, which is verify that they did their stuff right.
Sure. Or to that they cared, right? Yeah. Or maybe not cared about the task, but cared about doing it because we asked them to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's always, I'm always learning. It's always something difficult. I think the thing that I was really thinking about recently was, because Taryn's done some really awesome stuff, some awesome things at school, right? She got into National Junior Honor Society, and then you were there, I actually didn't get to go, but she got an award for art, like a multimedia.
Yeah, so they had all the art from all of the district, or the whole district, all the schools. There's a bunch of schools in the district.
Yeah, it's a big district.
That's different than back home for me. Like, the districts here are way bigger than I'm used to. But there's a bunch of schools, and they all do art throughout the year. And then there's, I think, a yearly, like, one of the colleges or high schools will host art pieces, and then the kid can put in one of their art pieces, and it's in the library or whatever.
Yeah, it was at the community college.
And so then I guess people from the district, like the admin, I'm not sure, walk through, and then they pick, I guess there was probably 100.
I don't know. That entire library was full of things.
No, I mean winners. There was like 100 winners. And so they award ones that they think are cool or exceptional, or I don't know what the guidelines are, just they like them. And then they host a night where the kid gets to go on stage, and there's a picture of the artwork, and then they get an award, a paper award. So Taryn was one of the ones that they awarded.
Yes.
So it's like middle school, all the middle schools in the district, and elementary maybe. Anyways.
And so maybe you can help me explain this a little bit more than I can explain it. But I'm proud of Taryn. But I'm proud of Taryn because of Taryn, not because she got an award. And I think that's where a lot of parents hang all of their pride on their children, is like, when you get here, I'm going to be proud of you. And it's always like this. And I see it in people that, like, in their business, when I get here, or like where they're working, when I get here, I'll be proud of myself. When I get here. And so Taryn's come to me and she's like, "Are you proud of me for getting this award?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am proud of you, but I'm proud of you because of you, like the trials and tribulations you've already faced in your life. You know, the death of a parent and battling with all the things she had to deal with when I was gone at work and taking care of her brother and still taking care of her brother. Like today he stood up for her in the goddamn car, you know, and I'm like, I'm proud of you for you, not because of I'm proud of this, but it doesn't change my value for who you are.
Yeah, I think that's something that I struggle with Taryn. Well, and maybe we both do, but like Taryn wants us to be proud of the things like the achievements that she makes. And I'm like so not like that. I'm like, I just want you to be nice. And when you're not nice, I want you to take a break.
Yeah.
Right? And like I know that there's going to be times she's going to be a teenager. I mean, she's a teenager, but like a real teenager soon. And I don't have expectations that she's not going to be difficult, but I think when we've said this since the beginning, like since I moved in, it's like those are wonderful. I want you to be proud of yourself for those, like for not comparing yourself, but comparing yourself to where you've come from, right? Like 1% better every day. But to say that now because you've gotten National Honor Society, like that now I'm like, cool, you're awesome. Like, no, like this is, to me, what matters is the values you have as a person and using those in whatever capacity you can. So if part of using your values is doing well in school because you want to, you know, get a job that you're happy in and successful and that makes you feel good, like that makes me proud, not that you got good grades to get the job.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, to me, it's always been like this for me, and maybe it's because I'm not a bio parent, but I'm just like, I just want you to not be a bitch sometimes. Like that's what I want. Like I want you to be able to communicate with us, and when you can't, to ask us for help, and when you can't, to take a breather, and when you're having a hard time, to just recognize it instead of I need to achieve these things so that Sammy is proud of me. Like I just want you to be a good person because me and your dad have worked so hard on establishing what that means and what that looks like, because that is, I mean, like our 3 values in our house, right? Do hard things, risk happy, right? Like meaning like put things out there. You don't let things hold you back, and be a good person. Those are the only things that we care about. And so it's wonderful that those things are happened and she's established those things, but I just really care about how she shows up.
Yeah. And I hope they know that, and maybe we can do better about that we're proud of them for who they are.
Yes.
I'm proud of you for being who you are. The achievements that you get the rest of your life, that'll be awesome, but it's not going to change the value that I hold for you in my heart. Like I'm not going to value you more.
No. And I think that's why me and Taryn get up each other's butt sometimes, because that's what she wants from me, and I'm like, no, I just want you to be happy and a good person.
And that's what
and that's where she struggles more sometimes. It's not in the things that she's achieving, it's in like how she's showing up and the words that come out of her mouth that are not nice, and like it's things like that I'm like, well, this is I'm asking you to do the easy part, not the hard part. You know, and I think that's where we butt heads sometimes, is just she wants me to be like so proud of her for these things that she's getting. I'm like, no, I want to be proud of who you are, you know? And I think I am, but it's just a little bit different than you, right? Like every time she says something, I don't even want to get into it, but when she has those moments, I have to rebuild, right? Because they're harmful and they're hurtful, and they're hurtful to other people, and they're hurtful to my friends, and they're hurtful to my community. Like, and it's like, well, that's going to take me time. So that's where I think we just struggle. And I feel like she knows that, but it's part of her personality is achieving, right? And it's part of what's happened to her. I'm assuming that she wants to show.
That's how she's like, I can show value to the people around me.
Sure.
Because maybe it wasn't given to her.
But that's definitely not coming from us.
No. So I hope they know that we're proud of both them, and we're proud of the communities that are around us and the people we get to work with, and the people that are going through really hard things right now, that we have some people in our very close community that are going through some really difficult things, and we're proud of them, and we're proud of, just like you said, just doing hard things and moving a little bit and trying to get just a little bit better every day. And it's okay when you take a step back. You know, give yourself a little grace. Yeah, I fucked up today. Oh, okay. Did I
I'm
learn
in a bad
something?
mood today. I'm having a hard time, so I'm gonna
It's like-
retreat instead of engage.
You know, like those 2 trainings I went to this last set. You know, I learned some things. If I could go back and do them again, I would do things different. But I'm not gonna like say, hey, we did this amazing, great job at both of them. There were good things that came out of both those trainings, and some good skills were built. But there were also some things that got missed, and I hope everybody saw those things and we can get a little bit better. Because when the rubber hits the road, we're expected to do our jobs at 100% every time. You know, and our kids, we expect them to do things appropriately, and they're going to make mistakes, and we're going to give them time and grace. And then we're going to be like, okay, did you learn your lesson? Let's get moving.
And let's not keep making the same mistake.
Same mistake over and over again.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long we've been going. Let's see here. Oh, we're killing it. So near an hour, 48 minutes of
Oops,
chatting.
sorry.
Oh, well, let's,
Okay, I would like to end with this. Sorry,
oh,
I cut you off.
go ahead.
We are going to a wedding
Oh, yes.
tonight, so we're gonna leave pretty soon. We're gonna go try to trail run before, but we're going to a wedding, and I just wanted to shout out to them. So it's our one of our team members from Foothill Fire and Evergreen Fire, and she is wonderful. She's a training. She's in charge of training at both places, and she's getting married to her husband, and he works for Foothills, but he's also
Jeffco Parks.
ranger. Yeah. And I'm just excited because they, I feel like they have a lot of. They're a good model, right, for other responder couples.
Yeah.
And just like they're both in it, like their families are in it. And so I just think it's cool, and really want to encourage them to take care of each other and take care of their teams. So I'm excited to go celebrate their wedding. Bree and Justin, we'll see you in a couple hours.
Yes, very soon. So that's what you're excited for this next week?
I just wanted to say that because I think it's cool. They invited us.
Yeah, it is pretty
We
cool.
get to celebrate with them because we work with them. So
I'm excited. We are going to see some people that are close to us this next week. We have a couple things that we get to do with people around us that are the people that fill us up and that are good, as you say, bouncing boards. So we get to, talk with them, hang out with them, break bread. I'm excited that I have 48 more hours of work, unless if I get mandoed coming off work, and I get 16 days off. I'm really excited just to be around and go on a little trip, and I think it's going to be a good recharge for me for sure. Like I've definitely feel like I've been going at 100%, and I can feel it in my body and stuff like that. Like I'm kind of tired and kind of broke down right now, and I'm excited to sleep and run. Like
So we're going to Sedona camping.
Yeah.
We go every year in May in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
So maybe our next one will be there. Well, not yet, but
We'll see. See if we
we'll
get
do
in
one there at some point.
We'll have to poll the audience of the 6 people and see if they want us to do one in Sedona.
So if one person says yes, then we'll do it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me and chatting. And we appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with us for this last hour. And like we like to say, love you.
Don't die.